Okie dokie. Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to NJBIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to give everyone a couple minutes to migrate in from the waiting room. And as you make your way in, if you can switch your view from gallery to speaker. So let's give everybody a couple minutes to make their way in and get ready for Thursday. And while you're making your way in, just a reminder that this program is being recorded so that we can send a copy out to anyone that registered but missed the program. If you had to run off, you'll have this recorded. Okay, we're at 9:31, so let's kick this off. To kick things off, I am going to pass this on to one of our council leaders, Jackie Lurea, president of Alexina Consulting. And I'm going to kick it over to you, Jackie.
Casey, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Jackie Lurea of Alexina Consulting. As Casey just mentioned, I am one of the council leaders for NJBIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council. Very, very proud member and so proud to be with you today. So thank you all for joining us. Truly appreciate it. It looks like we have a nice intimate group and some names that I absolutely recognize. So please, if you can, come on camera and join in the fun. So this month is a very, very special month, and we're celebrating Veterans Day, and we're so lucky to have our guest speaker. But before we get to him, I would like to just give a big shout out to my other council members. So Bian de Guzman of I Learn Schools, Director of Development, she is here with us. Good morning, Bian. And then another member who is with us is Andrea Murphy, who is the Director of Environmental Affairs and Sustainability at Panasonic North America. So welcome, Andrea. And the other members of the team who are not here of the council, Jason Holt, who's a member of Chiesa Shahinian and Gion Tomasi, and Shai Hopkins, who's the marketing coordinator of New Jersey Small Business Development Center. And finally, and certainly not least, is Craig Morton, good friend of ours. He is the assistant vice president of student affairs at Fairleigh Dickinson University. So welcome, everyone. And again, if you be so kind as to come on camera, we'd love to see your faces. Also, would like to give a big shout out to our sponsors who make this webinar and gathering possible. So Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey and the New Jersey Consortium of Community Colleges, Association Member Trust, Capital Health, Chiesa Shahinian and Gion Tomasi, Focus New Jersey, Integris, NJBIA HR Support, and New Jersey Business Magazine. So hopefully at the end of this formal presentation, which will be highly interactive, so I hope you can hang out. At the end, we're going to have some networking so we can share, what's hot in our worlds, and we can share information and engage together. So hopefully you'll be able to stay with us. So before we move on, I would like to kick it back to NJBIA.
Thank you, Jackie. And thank you, everyone. So we at the New Jersey Business and Industry Association are thrilled that this group continues to grow and thrive under the leadership of such amazing people that you see here today. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the country, representing approximately 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey, which amounts to about 1/4 of New Jersey's workforce, offering customer development opportunities, visibility through events, magazine ads, our podcast, our TV show, and money saving discounts on stuff your business is probably already paying for, like payroll, healthcare, 401k solutions, and HR support. If you're interested in learning more about us, we are at njbia.org. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm also going to put my information, Casey Skarecki, with sponsorship sales. I'm going to put some of my info in the chat as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. And that'll be it for me. So I'm going to kick it back to Jackie. Thank you.
Casey, thank you so much. So Casey's going to put her information in the chat. I would love for everyone else to put their contact information in the chat as well, so that when we leave here, because it's going to fly by, our time together, we will all still be able to be in touch and link in or whatever. But I will say that NJBIA, hands down, one of the best networking opportunities on the face of the earth. So I'm so happy that you are all here. So without further delay, let me introduce Ariel AJ Luna, right? And we go by AJ today because that's how I know you, and I got permission to do it. So today we have a very special guest who enlisted in the Army in 2000 and began as a communication soldier at Fort Gordon, Georgia. In 2002, he joined the New York National Guard, where he was deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2004 to 2005 with the 95th MP Battalion. That alone, AJ, I got to tell you, it just chokes me up a little bit. So thank you. Thank you so much. Since that's, I promise we will get through this with minimal tears and minimal appreciation, maximum appreciation, minimal tears. Since that time, he's completed a bachelor's degree and a master's in administrative science with a concentration in nonprofit organizational development from Fairleigh Dickinson University. He's had multiple achievements and accolades, including the Director of Veteran Services for Fairleigh Dickinson University, the Director of Veteran Services for Bergen County. Here, he continued to work on new initiatives, including the VA Work Study Program at the County of Bergen, which allows the county to hire part-time student veterans as interns to augment the Division of Veteran Services, and the Homeless Veteran Liaison Program, which identifies veterans living in shelters and develops plans to get those veterans into permanent housing. Luna has been featured on so many different media outlets, recognizing his efforts and support for veterans. And we're so happy that you're here sharing with us today. In 2017, the New Jersey American Legion recognized and awarded him with the Homeless Veterans Outreach Award for the state of New Jersey. In July 2018, he was selected by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs as the VA Veteran of the Day. Woo! Which is a national recognition. He was honored at first annual Brenner Foundation Veteran Services Gala at the Venetian in Garfield, New Jersey on October 18th of 2018. So as you can see, unbelievable human being as far as service to the public. But he also is married to a very beautiful wife named Shavona, and they have two beautiful daughters, Mariah and Alexandra. So, AJ, let us begin our little fireside chat, shall we? And because we have such an intimate group, listen, if you want to utilize the chat to throw some questions at AJ, but I'm going to tell you, I have some pretty poignant questions for him. And again, we'll have an opportunity to talk later after the formal part of this conversation. So let's see. Let us get started. So my first question, AJ, and as he sits there with anticipation, for returning military personnel, what do you think is the biggest challenge as far as reentry into civilian workforce? What is the biggest concern of your colleagues and peers?
Oh, Jackie, first of all, thank the NJBIA for having me here today. I appreciate it. And I'll just give you a little bit of my experience of what I've seen and also my experience as a veteran transitioning. I think for me, people have to understand that service or veteran is not a one size fits all, right? Everybody's in a different situation in their life when they get out the service. Some of the common things that I hear is obviously, people miss the camaraderie, people miss the support, people miss being able to work 24/7 with their fellow soldiers, airmen, Marines, whatever the case is, right? So you go from the military, which is a very structured and supported system to basically handles all your needs. And you have your job, right? Whichever that is. If you're an infantryman or if you're a cook, if you're an admin, you support, you do your job, but you have everything that supports. When you transition out, you lose that in a snap. That's gone. So I think for a lot of veterans, people get out the military for different reasons, right? I think for them, it's always trying to find something that's kind of similar or something that can satisfy that support that people always had in the military. That's why when people transition, some veterans like to transition to paramilitary organizations like law enforcement, right? Similar culture, similar support system. But I think for me, it's always the common things are, I get out to the civilian world. Now I kind of have to figure out what to do. I'm coming from an environment where all my needs were taken care of. I got my paycheck every, twice a month. My food, my living arrangements were all taken care of. I just had to focus on my job. And when you transition, you lose all of that and you have to start over. So that would be the main thing that I see. But also veterans, have to go through their own transition journey depending on what they want to do. And it's always good to find like-minded people and people that support, but everybody's transition is going to present some type of challenge, right? I know for me, I was very fortunate that I had a very good support system at the school that I attended at the time when I came back from deployment. And I didn't even realize it until, a couple years later. But many veterans come back, go through that experience, and don't even think that there's anything wrong. They kind of just, you know, push forward and survive. That's a common thing with a lot of veterans that served in Vietnam. They've just been through a traumatic experience, they've been through a war, but they always kind of say, you know what, I'm lucky, I'm still here. Let me keep driving forward, right? Let me just move, let me work, let me do all the things I need to do that appear normal, but not addressing those mental health issues or things that can arise from that service. It bottles up, and there's negative ways that can manifest. So I think also is just veterans realizing early that if they need to get help or they need to get any kind of mental health treatment for what they've experienced, that's okay. Kind of just breaking that stigma, right? And again, it's a culture, it's a warrior ethos. We're nothing's ever wrong with us. We can get through anything. But my estimation, I think those are probably the two biggest challenges: is finding the culture and also mental health, dealing with any kind of mental health issues that arise from service.
AJ, both like all encompassing 24/7. You can't hide from those things. And it's not like, oh, between nine and five, I'm going to feel those differences. Can you share with us what the service does, the military does to prepare someone who is getting ready to leave the service and go back to civilian life? Like, I
Well,
know it's got to be that's a huge question, but there is preparation, right?
well, I know that from my personal experience, when I transitioned, I had a course called ACAP, Army Career Alumni Program, and they put you through a 2 week um, series of speakers that present different kind of things that you have access to or you're entitled to. Um, from what I've heard from transitioning service members, every branch has their own kind of distinct ACAP, right? I know in the Marine Corps they call it TAPS, but that's a very good question, Jackie, in that it depends on the individual and also depends on how quickly um what's that individual circumstance. Because I know for me, like I'll give you a perfect example. Like if we came back from Iraq in 2005 and I deployed with a unit with the New York National Guard, right? You come back from an experience like that, the last thing you want to do is sit through like a bunch of classes talking about, you could get this, you could get that, this and that. So we're hearing it, but it's not registering, right? So I think, it's always that the information is there, but I'm very aware that outreach is very important, and you kind of have to meet people where they are and keep bringing it up, because again, everybody might not be in the same boat. Somebody who did 4 years in the military and they're young and they get in when they're 18 and they get out when they're 22 has much more different needs than somebody who might have been a career enlisted person who did 20 years. Right now they're 38, 39, they got a family, they got kids in school. So we're talking about a whole totally set of different needs. There is information that's offered, but there's so much out there. And again, it's when it's offered and how it's offered. One of the things that we found, and again, this is just me growing up, my background, I'm first generation American. My mother's from the Dominican Republic, my father's from Argentina. Big food, right? We love food. That's what we do. So one of the things that we've been doing with our nonprofit is doing these veteran appreciation luncheons where we bring in a good caterer, right? Because everybody loves a good meal, and have a relaxed environment where we can introduce this information to people that need it. And again, we're not expecting everybody to need healthcare right away, everybody to need local services right away. But the idea is that we want to expose people to it and in a relaxed environment, right? And again, also say, hey, we want people to think, listen, if you have some information, it might not be might not what you need now, but maybe you might know somebody that can benefit from that information. So please pay it forward, right? And that's something that I think everybody can do, in a community. You can always pay it forward if you have good information. So, again, answer that question. The military does have that. Whether or not it's effective is debatable, and it also depends on the individual. But I also think that for leaders in the community, if I'm considered that, and also nonprofits that work in the community in the VA, we still have to continue that process while the veteran is transitioning. And again, you'd be surprised because some veterans might get the stuff early, once they get out. And from what I saw in Bergen County, you had a lot of veterans that were out there that didn't even know that they had access to all this stuff. So again, outreach and information is always going to be key, but the trick is to try to get it to as many people as possible that can benefit from it.
AJ, thank you so much. I'm just trying to envision what a course like that before you leave and transition back to civilian life, what that would look like. And to me, it's like, oh, here are all the resources for tomorrow as you go on with your civilian life. Have at it. And it's got to be one of the most overwhelming things. So, yeah, just like anything else, repeating. And I love the whole idea of being in a relaxed atmosphere where you go over all the resources again. So, very importantly, the work that you do have done since we've known each other, all these different resources for our very worthy but overwhelmed veterans as they transition. Can you share with us some of the resources that are being offered that we now, as attendees here in this talk, can share with our communities as well?
So I can start with talking a little bit about the New Jersey SOS Veteran Stakeholders, where we were founded back in 2015, and just the same premise as a business networking event. Think of it as a networking event for social services. So, when I got appointed to Director of Veteran Affairs Services in Bergen County, right? I'm young and green at the time, but famous Greek philosopher said, Socrates said, the one thing that I know is that I know nothing. So part of what I wanted to do, along with my partner, was to bring all these resources together and then see what's going on in the community to see who's doing what, right? So some of the resources that I can tell you right off the bat, or right off the top of my head, like if you have a homeless veteran, SSVF, which stands for Supportive Services Veterans Family, and that's a program that the VA funds nonprofits that can help veterans get out of homelessness. There's 3 that deal in our area: Catholic Charities, Soldier On, and Community Hope. And I've been fortunate to have a relationship with all 3, right? So if you have a veteran that's about to get evicted or that's homeless right now, those 3 organizations can help. I see my good friend Anna Parodi from Empower, another great non-profit, which trains veterans for free to get into careers in IT. Right? That's one of those community gems that we have, because obviously workforce development is very important. You have the VA, which is the federal healthcare system, right? But the VA is big, right? It's the second largest federal agency in the country. We work with specific units. So I could say we work with the outreach unit, the public relations unit, to try to get more information out there. to try to get people registered for VA healthcare because sometimes they don't even know that they qualify. And we also work with the HUD-VASH unit, which is their Section 8 with case management, affordable housing for veterans that need that service, right? The state of New Jersey has a couple of resources as well. They have the long-term care homes in Paramus, Menlo Park, and in Vineland, right? Because all veterans gonna head towards that. So that's good to share with families so that they know that there's an available resource. You also have um, two places in Glen Gardner and in Veteran Haven South where homeless veterans can go if they don't have any shelter. And there's also federal programs that I can talk about. And then the state, to their credit, they're trying to get VSOs, which is a veteran service officer, in each of the 21 counties that we have here in New Jersey. And I'm happy to say that our organization advocated for that, and they just did a ribbon cutting ceremony in Passaic County a couple weeks ago, where they have now a full-time VSO from the state to service that area. When I was in Bergen, the state officers serviced both Bergen and Passaic, and between those two counties, you had about 49,000 veterans that lived there. So, you know, a lot of it, Jackie, is finding the right type of resource, right? Because anybody can do this. We can all go online and research, right? The worst thing you could tell a veteran is go check it out on the website. Very you have to do, and I'm sure this is the same case within your network, but you have to put in the work to earn the trust of that individual, correct? So with that being said, you always have to look to see what nonprofits or what organizations are out there that not only have a service for veterans, but how is that service provided? What's the feedback? And see how there could be a mutual collaboration so we can obviously benefit veterans wherever we're serving them. I know as my time as a director in Bergen, my staff was we had 3 people, which was better than the previous administration, which was only 1. And I introduced the work study program, but I there was 37,000 veterans at the time, and I'm a director with 2 Vietnam vets and an admin and an $80,000 budget. And that was an increase from the previous administration. So just to put that into perspective, you really, I would not have been able to do the work that I did or that we did, because I never want to say it's all me, without the partnerships that we had through NJSOS stakeholders, because I didn't have the resources. And at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity to collaborate, and you know, for me, I'm more of a, like you, Jackie, like, let's just get the job done. At the end of the day, I don't care who takes the picture and who wants to get the credit, but we still got to make sure the job gets done. And that's how we were able to house over 400 veterans in Bergen County, and we got all the recognition that we did. But that was through partnerships, constant collaboration, and also being of service. The funny thing is with county government, I'll tell everybody a quick story. When I first took it, I was scared, because you hear all the things about New Jersey government, right? Can we all agree? Like, this is going on, that's going on, the stories, right? Gold bars, but beep, bop, boo, right? We can say all that. But the interesting thing is that you get into a position like that and you could kind of make it to what you need it to be. But for me, I always had a strong professional background, and I always knew how to interact with people. So many people kind of saw the style a little unorthodox, right? Like, why are you going out there and reaching out to people? You should be in the office just happy that you got the job. Yeah, but it's going to be a little bit more. We got to get people engaged, right? So was always of the mindset of, okay, if I go to you, right, like Jackie, you have housing in Bergen County, I would always say, how can I help you fill some of these units up, or how can I be of service to you? And I think that really made people want to participate with us. And again, at the end of the day, what I found very fascinating is that everybody's kind of in their little silos in social services. right? Like, don't touch me, that's mine, right? But here's the honest truth. When veterans go to the service, right? I ask people all the time, where do they come from? They come from our communities. They come from our neighborhoods, right? They're your brother, they're your sister, they're your mother. So, we take them, train them, send them to war, whatever the case is, bring them back. And again, people can always say, and this is the thing that drives me nuts. People are watching news. Oh my God, I can't believe they're screwing veterans over. It's a community thing, right? Everybody in the community can be engaged in some way to try to help veterans out. The VA, for whatever one people want to say, they and the criticism, it can be deserved, not deserved. It's debatable, but they're a huge institution. And again, they can't have the pulse on the finger on what's going on. And I'm not here defending the VA, but what I'm saying is you have to work with the VA and you have to work with other organizations, and then you build a relationship, and then you try to offer whatever you can to try to make it better for that individual seeking services. One thing that was very fascinating to me as well was with HUD badge, right? So I think for them, when we first had a conversation back in 2015, they when I said to them, listen, your case managers are running around trying to find housing for these veterans, but let us help you find that. I mean, this is our backyard. We would know Bergen County better than you would know Bergen County. And it also helped the fact that I had a little bit of a real estate background, but that's besides the point. But still, it's just saying, hey, you're not in this alone, right? If you want to work together, let's work together so we can solve this problem. And of course, you can call us whenever you need housing. We'll start a running list and we'll try to get people that want to help house veterans. So, people, it's like, wow, how did you, but, I mean, as business people, everybody here I know can appreciate having good business relationships, having honest communication, which I know sometimes in political environments, it could be very challenging, right? But also to come to some kind of compromise and say, okay, well, how can we work with each other, and it could be a mutually beneficial relationship. Because most importantly, again, at the end of the day, we help people. We could change somebody's life and change the trajectory for the better. And I don't think that, somebody should hoard or not want to participate because of another ulterior motive or agenda, which I've seen, unfortunately, right? I've seen people not want to do that because of that. Control resources sometimes can be very, 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 nasty and a lot of back and forth. But, look, for all the faults that are there, we're still a great state, a tremendous country. We have plenty of resources. It's just always getting the right pieces together to try to figure out how can we do that. So, Jackie, I hope that answers some of the question, but any type of issue a veteran may have, I promise there is some type of resource out there for it.
And the trick is, AJ, as I'm speaking to you, it's a one by one, have the conversations one by one, not only with the veterans, but with all the resources like Anna. Mm-hmm. So Anna from Empower, I'm so thrilled that you're on today. What do you have? What do you need to succeed? It's the same questions for both the veterans as well as the nonprofits, as well as the businesses. What do you have? What do you need to be successful? And success is different things to different people. And we all know that, but you're not going to be able to identify those things until you have those conversations one-on-one. Right. So, but here's one of the biggest challenges, as I mentioned before, you and I have been, in a relationship, business relationship for a number of years. The language that military comes out of and comes back into civilian life, and Anna, you might be able to help us with this as well. The language is different. So what you call in the military one thing, we as lay people call it something completely different, not realizing that we're talking about exactly the same skills and talents, right? How can we, as business owners, as community members, be better at helping to translate those types, that whole language, the military language to the layperson's language, so that we can say, no, you actually do have exactly the skills and talents that we need? How do we do that?
So
properly?
part of that again, and there's no sure answer, but I would say first start is look at the industry you're trying to hire for, and just remember that every industry has its own language, its own different vernacular per se, right? But I'm pretty sure I would first start with the soft skills, right? Again, I have to ask this, but how many people love hiring employees that like to come to work? Show of hands. Okay, good. I'm hoping it's just not me, but that's part of what the military is. Like it's the culture. Like you have to be at your appointed place of duty, right? So the soft skills are there. There's organizations that can help veterans with that transition, right? One of the things I hear a lot, and I'll give an example. Like you have somebody who's a staff sergeant, E6, gets out the military, 10 years of experience. The person is been responsible for 30 people, millions of dollars of equipment. We've all heard the story, right? Then he comes out, employer looks at it. Oh, thank you so much for your service. Wants to give the person an entry level position, right? It's it happens. The key here is always to get the veteran to the right resource to try to make that translation um to match that particular skill set of that individual at that time. Before the county, I had 11 years in higher education helping veterans transition into academia, which also presents its challenges. But one of the big components that I always pushed on my veterans was professional development, right? Because you might have a veteran who comes out, they do 8 years in infantry, right? They're done with it. They don't want to see a weapon anymore. I want to go into business. Wonderful, great. Okay, what do you want to do in business? Do you want to have your own business? Do you want to work for a Fortune 500 company? Do you wanna like what do you want to do, right? Let's start, let's get to the heart of the matter. What is it that you envision yourself doing? I think asking that question first helps. Now, how companies can help is partner with organizations. I could think of some off the top of my head. 4Block is a great one, 4block.org. Hire Our Heroes, um, Patriot Jobs. And these organizations kind of act at they prepare veterans to be job ready for that industry. Because I think for me, Jackie, the reality is this, right? Everybody's running a business. And I know that I wish somebody could invent a way that we can make more time in a day, but it's not possible. So we're trying to be as efficient with our processes as possible. I think the business community wants to help, but they don't know exactly how to help. So I think the gap is trying to get the veteran ready because obviously the business has to run the business. They have to hire people. So it's really a matter of finding another conduit to get veterans ready for that particular industry that that they may be interested in pursuing. Some of them that do it really well. I mean, obviously, transitioning into a law enforcement environment or like a federal law enforcement because it's paramilitary, that's easy. But some that I've seen pretty good. There's a 4Block with the Fortune 500 companies, just getting veterans exposed to different human resource professionals from different kind of financial services is a first step. But it's always about getting that person exposure. Like if you're hiring for a manufacturing, I can't just take a guy who got out the service yesterday, slap a resume on him, give it to you, and expect you to say, okay, wow, yeah, this is a good match. We can do that. It's not gonna happen. So that process is a time. And it's also what the business is willing to can accommodate. I'll give you an example of one that we that one of our partners recently did with LEW, which is Lead Environmental Work Services. They're based out of northern New Jersey, but they want veterans. And here's the thing: they just want an honorably discharged veteran who they can train, and they want to start them out doing field work in South Jersey. So for a veteran, that's a very good proposition because most of the time they don't have that onboarding process that they have to go through, and it depends on the needs of the business. So I tell people all the time, if a veteran can get through basic training and they can learn their MOS, right? everything
It's
is
an
teach
MOS, AJ.
military occupational
There
specialty.
you
So
go with your acronyms and
and,
your language.
and that's another way of saying job. So I apologize, people, for not. But so the point what I'm trying to get is that they were trained and they learned it and they did it. So just keep that in mind for veterans. Like as long as there's opportunity for that, right? Most employers, through my experience, just want people to have soft skills like, hey, can you work well with a team? Do you work well under pressure? Can you show up to work? I mean, that's a big one now with the generation. Can you show up to work, right? Can you follow certain orders? Can you follow certain structures? So, you know, any type of job that's there can always be taught and learned. So I just want everybody here to understand that that's what people see when they're looking at veterans. And obviously roles that require more education, require more experience, that's there too, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to be able to compare military experience to whatever kind of job that's out there, especially for stuff like management, being responsible for millions of dollars of equipment. I mean, that's all stuff that's universal, right? You would want somebody to be responsible if you're entrusting them with $1 million of your manufacturing equipment, I would hope. So same thing in the military. I mean, the military, you have to be responsible with this stuff. So just please take that into consideration, and just know that there's organizations out there that do try to prepare veterans for that next stuff, and it's always an evolving thing too, right? I tell people all the time, again, with this opportunity with LEW, this is a type of opportunity that if I'm going to outreach to people, I would want to outreach it to recently transitioned members, military members, people that might be looking to get into the workforce, or people that just get started into school, right? Because they're trying to find an opportunity. It wouldn't be best suited for somebody who's looking for like a management role, or somebody who's in school working on their masters, right? So it's always knowing on where to look for what for the candidates that you're looking for, but everything is a different menu. So
And right back to where we started is that is a collaboration, and that means job placement and workforce development is a collaboration, is a conversation. Get what you have, what do you need to
yeah.
succeed? And so I would be remiss if I didn't share this with people on the line for, and you can probably speak more to this, for the workforce development boards and the job centers or employment centers. For all of you employers out there, there are pots of money that are available to employers that will allow you to hand select candidates. And today we're talking about veterans, so let's go right to veterans, specifically to customize train these individuals for exactly what it is you need. And there, in some instances, the workforce development boards and the one stops will help to offset their salaries, a portion of, not all of it. So again, collaboration between private sector, public sector, government, military, you name it. We need to talk about what resources we have so that we can share them and get veterans to work and get these jobs filled for our employers. So, all right. So let's segue a little bit from employment, education. Mental health has been such a huge issue for everyone coming out of COVID, just everything that's going on currently in the world now. We're in a tough place, specifically for veterans, though. Can you share, and you touched on it before, the unique challenges they're having today? And it could be not just a newly transitioned, it could be someone who, served in Vietnam. I know a lot of my motorcycle peers out of the Blue Knights, a lot of veterans that are going through stuff, and stuff that you cannot see, which is probably what makes it the most dangerous. AJ, share with us, how can we best support and collaborate with our veterans who are going through a rough time?
So one of the things that we've been doing is having suicide awareness seminars, right? And I'm sure everybody here hears it, the slogan 22 a day, right? With veterans. I can share what a lot of people said. It's a process that everybody has to be engaged with. And I think from the employer's perspective, I understand that the mental health of all the employees should be up there, and everybody's going through something, right? And I think it's very silly to think that mental health doesn't affect everybody in any type of way. If you might have all your stuff together today, right? Things happen in life. We have family members, we have friends, so everybody is affected. I think what the positive thing that I'm seeing now is that there's more and more conversation on talking about how to better deal with it. And I think one of the things to me that really sticks out is the fact that many people look at veterans, right? But they'll look at a veteran that's homeless and already assume like that person needs help, and we're rightfully so. We have a lot of issues that are going on there. But sometimes you also have veterans that would appear successful, right? You go to work every day and you just kind of move it forward. I consider myself somebody like that, right? Like, hey, we just got to keep going, keep going. But I think we all have to have that conversation, or at least foster that environment where it's okay to seek out help if you need it, right? Because again, I could share stories about the World War II vets that I heard. A lot of them saw some really atrocious things in the European theater. Constant. It was called shell shock back in the day, and then they were just expected to come back and reintegrate and pretend like nothing happened and just live their life, right? So yeah, you have that, right? I think as we've gone more, we've kind of realized, wait a minute, that's maybe, there's a cost to this, right? And again, everybody reacts to it differently. What I would say how the business community can help is always, fostering an environment, supporting good nonprofits. I mean, everybody goes to the VA, but I know the VA, it's one entity. One nonprofit that I like that deals with mental health is Get Headstrong, that which uses cognitive therapy for PTSD. Because again, PTSD, that's been what's been attached to this generation. But the reality is anybody in this room, if they go outside and get into a car accident, you get PTSD. It's post-traumatic service disorder. It's not just for the military. Anybody can get that. But it's how you deal with that after it occurs, and everybody has a different way of dealing with that. This is the reason why, they talk about the 5 mile stare that veterans recognize. You might see somebody who's there, but you know that they're not there. They're not, like they're not mentally there. They're physically there, but they're mentally there. And there's a lot going on in there that has to be addressed. So I think it's just really encouraging people, in which I've seen this happen in my employer right now and just other employers, to seek out mental health services if it's there. And again, a lot of the stigma is I don't want my employer to think that I'm a mental case. I don't want my employer to think I can't do the job. I don't want my employer to think I'm abnormal. Listen, it's life. Everybody's gonna go through stuff, but you have to find ways to deal with that in healthy, positive ways instead of negative ways that manifest, which you don't want. And again, one of the things that I was very big on, right, in my time at the county was when you're dealing with people that are at their most vulnerable, you have to really act professional and show compassion, because that interaction could be the difference between that person setting off, right, wanting to jump off a bridge, or getting them to a better place where they can be better themselves. See, Jackie, the thing is, there's always hope, right? And if you don't honestly believe that it can get better, you shouldn't be doing the work. But everybody has to be engaged in that process of trying to make it better. And again, pretend like we don't know, because I tell people all the time, if you're having a mental health, I'm probably not the best guy to talk to, right? Just because how I am, my personality, but I'll get you to somebody that can talk to you. I'll get you to a professional that can help you, right? I'll hand carry you over. That's not a problem. But you have to know where those resources are, and you also have to know how to kind of navigate those situations. So
Mm,
again, everything is culture, and veterans, they've been through a lot. They might not want to admit that. They're not going to come with that up front, right? Me personally, I mean, I'm talking here today. I'm very blessed, but I'm a combat veteran. I was engaged. I lost friends out there. I lost 4 friends out there. I did one tour of duty, right? Almost 20 years ago. Until this day, I still have issues with the things that I experienced over there. So, but again, life has to continue. So my thought process is we always have to try to encourage to make it better, but also learn how we can get those individuals that help. And it should be there for business too, because listen, anybody, one thing can change tomorrow. You can lose a loved one, something can happen, right? And that can literally start the downward spiral. I remember my old father, when he was here, God rest his soul, he used to say, when it rains, it pours, right? These things will always happen. So you have to be able to navigate these things. But the encouraging thing is that, just like a storm, the eye of the storm is always going to pass. So it's not going to last forever. And it's just, you
mm,
have to know where we can go to get our people help. And that's the whole point of the suicide awareness. Is like, listen, we might not find somebody there, but we want people to know that there's stuff out there for veterans that can help them.
mm. Yeah, AJ, you're telling your story, you're sharing so deeply. So thank you for that. Um, but I have to think that when veterans speak to you, and they may be going through something or they may not be, just seeing you and your ability to come out of combat, to come out of seeing what you've seen and being successful because you keep pushing forward, even after all those experiences that you have, you alone, just showing that understanding, that empathy, and that care has got to be so, it's got to be invaluable. And I can't even imagine the number of lives that you have saved and tons more that you have just touched, just sharing your heart with them. And so, one of the things that I have, again, I'm going to go back to my Blue Knights. One of the simplest things that I can do for one of them who I know has PTSD out of Vietnam, and that was a little while ago, is that he doesn't like his picture taken. And so everybody who knows me knows I love taking pictures, but to be respectful and provide what we can provide, the support that we are able to. And then if they ask for something deeper that we're unable to be able to utilize services like you provide so willingly and so invaluably, to be able to say, all right, as a good fellow human being, I don't know the answer and I don't know exactly the resource, but together we're going to find out. Together, we're going to find that safe space for you. Together, we're going to get that help that you need to succeed. So, what an amazing, amazing story. All right. So, guess what? It's 10:18. So, final message to our group here. What is the final take home you want us all to leave with today?
No, again, Jackie, thank you for doing this. But the final takeaway would be, I know everybody here supports veterans. Uh, just be aware. Just be aware. I think we can all do that, right? This is why I'm such a big believer in um not giving anybody ownership of this. Like, it doesn't cost anything to be kind, or at least aware of people's situation. And again, um veterans to me are a very easy group to understand. Once they trust you, and Jackie, you can vouch. Once they trust you and they build a friendship with you, like they're there for you. They're loyal. But again, you have to create that awareness. You have to be able to just be understanding, and that's very difficult if you didn't share that experience. It's like me, trying to understand, you know, how what women go through. I can't. I'm not a woman. I married a beautiful woman. I have two beautiful daughters. I'm always going to support them, but I won't understand what that experience is like. So same thing with our veterans. Just be aware. Be aware that, and then also lend words of encouragement. Just like you said, I don't know the answer, right? I don't want to pretend like I know. But I can listen. I can listen judgment free, and I can try to help get you where you need to be. I'll make a good attempted effort. I think veterans and many people, let's be honest, appreciate a sincere effort as opposed to just empty words, which is something I get back to with a lot of elected officials. When election time comes around, thank you for your service, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. What does that actually mean? How are we actually doing that? And again, I understand, why they would do it, why they're trying to do it. I get it. But the community, from the community, it's genuine. So again, it's very encouraging to see a lot of the support that's out there. But Jackie, ultimately, is just having that awareness of what they've been through and being empathetic, right? Because again, most veterans want to move on. They want to live good lives. They want to be productive citizens. They just have to get the resources and the tools and the support to do that. And they can also support the community as well, which a lot of veterans do.
Mm. Do more of.
Yeah.
You live your life serving the community, and you just continue. So from an employer's perspective, let it be, just be empathetic, listen, be understanding, create that safe space. And the bottom line is this, AJ, as a fellow human being in civilian life, whether you're an employee or employer, or someone who wants to lend a hand or volunteer in one of the many great nonprofits, the question is, or the statement is, tell us how we can help. Tell us how we can help. And listen. And if you don't know the resources, you'll help them find it. So I absolutely love that word of advice. So I thank you again. I'm going to close the formalized portion of our time here together. And I'm hoping that we have some, not only questions, but maybe some comments to share with AJ and the rest of the group. So this time I would love to open the floor. So anyone, come off mute and go at it with AJ.
I just wanted to thank you. That was wonderful. My stepdad, much older, he's a veteran of World War II, and shell shock was what he would call it. And so he was very young. We got to go see his battleship. It's a museum now in Baton Rouge. He had not been. Now he's 100. He's 100 this year. He had not been on that battleship since he was about 19. And when
Wow.
I talked to him on the phone, he directed me right to his bunk. He remembered it like the back of his hand. He couldn't go back to it. They invited him because there's only, I think, two left survivors of that ship. He still could not return to it. It was too upsetting. His ship was hit. It was hit by a pilot, and it was devastating for his friends. So he still, after all those years, could not return. And he talked about how he didn't have anyone to talk to at that time. So I just really, I have a lot of other family members that are currently in the military, and the resources are much greater now. So I just want to thank you for bringing that out. It was things I didn't know. So it was wonderful.
Thank you, Casey. And much more awareness, because I can understand your grandfather, and that was the greatest generation. But that was the expectation back then. I mean, they were so thrilled to be back, but nobody were to say, wow, this guy just went through a war, right? Which 99.9% of the population is never going to experience what that's like. That's why we have to be grateful, right? We have to. But the people that do experience that, they take that with them their entire lives. So I want to thank him for his service, and know that, he set the wave, and we gotta, make sure we take care of our guys and gals when they get back. Nope.
Casey, what an amazing story. And I hope that it gave your stepdad this feeling of, they still remember me and they still acknowledge. I mean, that is one of the coolest things, is to invite him back to Baton Rouge, right? That is
Oh,
so amazing.
they were thrilled. They were thrilled that he remembered so much of it. There were things in the radar room, divots, and he knew how that happened. And his memory was so crisp for it. And it was so many years that it just, like you said, it's imprinted on him. That kind of experience that he was, even after all those years, it was just as fresh.
Well, please thank him on behalf of all of us for all that he has done. Thank you so much. Who else would like to share anything? Anna.
Yes,
Yay, there's
hi.
Anna, real life Anna.
Wasn't camera
Welcome.
ready today, so I had to pull something together. But I really, no questions, just I'm so glad I got to do this. AJ, you told me about this yesterday, and you know, I tried to make it work, and I'm so glad. Every time I hear you speak and I see you, it just reminds me why I do what I do. So just thank you for inspiring me every time I see you to keep doing this good work. And Jackie, thank you again for hosting. This was really awesome.
Well, thank you to
Thank you.
NJBIA. Don't come off camera yet, Anna. Tell us exactly, what do you do when you do?
Oh boy. Um, so Empower. So I'm the program director at Empower New Jersey, and basically it's a free workforce development program. We help military veterans and spouses, as well as underprivileged young adults, get their foot in the door into the tech field. So we do everything from the training and certification. We have case management for folks that are struggling with issues outside of the classroom. We have a professional development staff, and then we have a placement team that actually helps folks get working, whether it's an apprenticeship if they need more experience, or a full-time job. And we have these programs twice a year, and as we grow, we're actually expanding the types of classes we're teaching.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Sure, of
Truly,
course.
truly
Thank you.
appreciate you clearing your calendar for us today.
No
Anyone
problem.
else? Yes, Bob. Dr. Robert Like, how are
Yeah,
you, my friend?
I'm well. Good morning, everyone. And it's been a pleasure and privilege working with Jackie through our New Jersey statewide network for cultural competence over the past few years. AJ, first, thank you very much for your continuing service. We will not forget the work that you and your colleagues have been involved with and continue to do. Just briefly, I'm a retired family physician, but over the past decade at Robert Wood Johnson Medical School at Rutgers, we've had a joining forces interdisciplinary program that came out of a challenge that Dr. Jill Biden during the Obama administration put out to all of the medical and health professions schools, saying that we're not training physicians, nurses, pharmacists, social workers, PAs, anyone really in the care of veterans and warriors. And so we partnered with a group called the Warrior Centric Health Foundation and the Veterans Health and Wellness Foundation. And actually, tomorrow is our 10th anniversary of our educational program, which typically brings about 300 people together, including veterans from the community, such as yourself, to share their experiences, to help people learn more about the different health and mental health issues that folks experience. And it has been extraordinarily powerful. You know, we want people to learn. First of all, very few physicians even ask their patients, have you ever served in the military? That one question begins to unlock things for many individuals. And then the question becomes, what do you do next? And so we like to emphasize questions of how do you develop trusting relationships in an alliance? How do you really elicit a military health history? How do you create a veteran friendly practice environment? And I wonder, in the employer community, do you create veteran friendly environments for people to work in that complement, sort of, if you will, the knowledge and skills that get shared? And then we also want people to learn how to do interdisciplinary team care, because many people bring in a wealth of different health and mental health issues. We also want people to learn about military cultural diversity, because there really are significant differences, as we've learned from people who've served in the Marines and the Army and the Navy and the Air Force and the Coast Guard and others. What is similar and what's different? The different wars that they've experienced, the way society has responded to people returning from the wars, and then the impact on families and support systems. And so at the end, three of our take-home messages, which I think are perhaps relevant to what we've talked about today is that we need to avoid stereotyping, overgeneralization, and stigmatization of veterans, especially as it's sometimes portrayed in the media. We also have to emphasize assets, strengths, and resilience because the majority of veterans return and do well physically, emotionally, and socially. And then also, as with all people, we need to individualize and tailor care because when you've seen one veteran, you've seen one veteran. Each person is really unique. So that what we like doing is when we bring our panels together, and we've had people from with different ages, generations, situations who go beyond the health aspects to share their experiences while in the military, while transitioning, what have been the risks they've been exposed to, what are their supportive relationships. And frankly, I think it would be wonderful is if NJBIA and others might even consider putting on future conferences or workshops that would bring different communities together to increase everyone's knowledge and awareness, to share the resources, because I think there's so much to be done. And one of the things I would just mention is that what we've also learned is the majority of veterans are not necessarily receiving their care in the VA or military service facilities. Many of them are actually coming to the commercial health sector. And so most hospitals, healthcare providers, organizations don't know much about this. They're not familiar with TRICARE. And now that the PACT Act was just passed, there are plans to spread VA benefits to 3.5 million veterans exposed to toxins. So, along with the mental health issues, toxic burns, cancers, all other kinds of conditions that could potentially impact people's health and well-being, there's more more resources that have to be spent in this. So I think there are ways that both healthcare as an employer, but also healthcare working together with the business industry, with nonprofits in the community. It would be just wonderful to put on some future conferences that could, that would be really spread this out there. And New Jersey, I think, is a leader in our work, particularly in our health profession schools in this area. So that's just a quick set of comments.
Oh, I see Betty's brain just going. It's my head's spinning this way. Betty's is spinning this way with all these great ideas. Bob, thank you so much. Any response, BIA?
I would just, we do plan a health and wellness event each year. I'm making a note. Maybe we can work something in that is specific to this area this year because it sounds like a really great need.
Yeah, and I would also just add that this really connects up with DEIB because what we talk about is the diversity that exists within the military and the experiences of LGBTQ veterans. There have been issues around racism experienced by veterans of color. How that gets dealt with, even though the military is much better about this, and AJ can speak more about it. I think there's still challenges that exist. So all of this stuff is not just veterans as a population, but also the diversity, the equity, the inclusion, and the belonging that goes on is very much a part of our discussions, particularly from a military cultural competence perspective. I'd wonder what AJ also thinks on all this.
Well, Dr. Like, I was actually fortunate enough to talk to a bunch of physician students about 2 years ago at Hackensack Meridian. And
Right.
that was one of the talks that we had was so for those students can become aware. And what you found is some of them had people that served in the military, some of them wanted to learn what to know. I think with the expansion, first with the Mission Act and now with the PAC Act, there's going to be more opportunity for community providers to get involved because of the things that the VA can't do because of their limited capacity. I know up in Bergen County, Bergen Newbridge was trying to fill that gap to provide those services to those veterans in case they can't go to the VA, which for us, we try to advocate fiercely to try to move some more services up to Paramus because a lot of people from Bergen County was hard to get to East Orange. Just like one of the things that we're also looking to do is get more mental health services out to the northwestern part of the state because there's a need there. But at least I'm glad to see that in the health profession, I think there's a lot of schools that are including self-awareness of veterans and veteran patients. And I think a lot of the students want to go in there trying to help. But also you have to recognize the reality. This is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, but the military is incredibly diverse,
right?
Especially in New Jersey. One of the things that we're very proud of was that we were the main drivers of the legislation to recognize June 12th as Women Veterans Appreciation Day. And that was born just to acknowledge the history of how women were able to serve the country back in the 1940s. But the premise of that was we were trying to advocate to get more women specific or female specific health care because our female women population, our veteran population, it's almost at 20%. So that's a lot of people that need services and that don't utilize the traditional VA system. So we have to have those conversations to try to either get more services or tailor those services to that changing demographic.
Yeah, that's absolutely right on, and it's great on the work you're doing. I mean, the subject of military sexual trauma has come up not infrequently in the discussions, and particularly something not talked about as much as moral injury. So
Yes.
and
Yep.
I'm curious about your comments on the effects of moral injury. Let me just say that we are also having a growing number of our health profession students who have served or are serving in the military. And in fact, 5 of the panelists tomorrow are Army or Army Reserve veterans and also Navy who served in recent combat and war. So each year we've had people from different war periods, different parts of the military sharing their stories. I think they also have a good time with humor between the different parts of the military. So it's not all just serious stuff. There's also camaraderie, other
Yeah.
fun. But say something about moral injury because I think people miss a lot of that.
So that's one of our speakers at our last suicide awareness in Kenilworth talked about that, and that's one of the main topics for the panel. So our next suicide awareness seminar is going to be on December 5th at Sussex County Community College in Newton. The panelists are made of 2 Purple Heart Vietnam veterans, and they talk about their experience and how they were conflicted with what happened. And the common theme that I hear, and again, I also share that experience, is that, for people to try to understand that, right? Like to know that that was very difficult at that time for that individual because what they were used to, right? Or what they might have thought was right or wrong, or morally just or morally unjust, their whole worldview, their whole perspective changed in that environment of war, right? So then how do you take that experience, and people still struggle with that till today. I struggle with that till today. And how do you try to make sense of that experience and have closure with that experience, which I think it's something that a lot of veterans don't have, right? Some of them might feel ashamed, or they might feel guilt. They might feel intense sense of guilt. Just a lot of negative emotions tied to that experience. And again, what we're trying to do in the community is foster an environment where they at least could talk about that experience openly and try to deal with it. And just like Casey said, I mean, I'm thinking about her grandfather. That's stuff that's never gonna go away, right? So, I tell people, what are the options? The option is, either you deal with it, right, and you let it affect you to the point that you're incapacitated, or you find a way to deal with it. And it's not going to be positive all the time, but do things that can help you cope with it. And again, it's something that's life ongoing. It's not ever gonna, go away. It's always gonna be there. But I think what's encouraging is I'm hearing what you're saying about the students and being aware. What Jackie said about her awareness with her friend who served in Vietnam is just creating an awareness that's really an awareness to many people. And just like mental health, because that was a big thing in Bergen County, is the stigma that's attached to that, right? It's like, oh man, get over it, right? Well, some people can't. Some people can, or some people need other ways to quote unquote get over it. I know with our culture, the military, we see the worst things and we try to pretend like it didn't happen or it's just normal. It's not normal. But then the bad part is that you get back and you're dealing with it in so many different ways. And I don't want all you people to know that I'm messed up inside, that something's wrong with me. So there's things that we do that we shouldn't be doing to mask that. And what we're saying is, no, listen, we know, and it's okay. You got to deal with it in a better way, and there's resources there for you to deal with in a better way. And I think as we continue this conversation, more people become aware. And just like anything, I mean, it's constant marketing, right? You have to market the message of hope, and also the message of acceptance and empathy. Because again, all of us, right? It doesn't cost us anything to be more empathetic to our fellow human beings. So
Thank you very much.
yep.
You know,
And
you
thank
know
you
what I
for
love? This whole idea of normal. And I'm hoping that as we go forward, it becomes more normal to have conversations as deep and as emotional and as, yeah, in I'll be blunt, as tragic as this, so that we don't have to hide, so that veterans don't have to hide, and anybody else who's going through a thing. Um, but I want to pay respect to everyone's time. It's 10:40. Um, this has been an amazing time together, AJ. All the comments and questions have been amazing. To me, I am so privileged to surround myself with such brilliant, open, authentic people. So I'd like to take the opportunity to wish you a happy Veterans Day. Every day is Veterans Day in our book. And I thank you again, AJ, for your time with us. I thank you, NJBIA, for allowing the space. And I thank our guests for joining us today. This has been truly eye-opening, as I knew it would be. But do we have a couple of minutes just for networking, NJBIA?
See why not?
Okay. All right. So again, in respect of everyone's time, if you have to jump, I don't want to hold you up because I'm all about the time frame. But would love to take some time to share anything going on with anybody that we want to share. Any
Jackie,
sharing of
I'll send you
resources?
stuff. I'll send you stuff. We got a couple of things going on, and then we're getting the calendar ready for next year. I don't Are you guys based out of Trenton, NJBIA? Are you guys based out of Trenton
We
area?
are. We're
Okay.
located in Trenton, yes.
You have any offices up north?
We do not. We do
Okay.
not.
I
No.
share my space with them in Ramsey.
There you
Yes.
go. That's as far up north as
They're,
we're gonna go.
they're satellite.
And we partner with a lot of the chambers. So
Okay. One thing that I don't know if you have a lot of members that have businesses in like Morris County, but you guys are aware of the manufacturing veterans program that they have over there?
I'm not offhand, no.
Okay, so Betty, I can connect you to a contact over there that they're trying to look to train veterans to get into advanced manufacturing. So I don't
Okay.
know if that would help you guys if you have employers that are looking for candidates that can do that. But I know they got a big DOL grant to train veterans to do that. And it'll be a quick email, just introduction, and you guys can take it from there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you know if they're partnering with the manufacturing extension program?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so.
Because we partner strongly with them, so we'll see if we can connect the circles.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Perfect. I would like to throw something out. I am serving as a grant manager to the city of Hackensack, their health department, and we are offering to anyone who works or lives in the city of Hackensack 4 different types of training. One is the mental health first aid 8-hour certification, which all these come at a cost because they are certified trainers. The other is Narcan training, which is an hour, which unfortunately is so critically important. And I would love to get more Narcan kits out there and instruction on how to use them. The third is the American Red Cross First Aid AED CPR training, which is about a full day. And it is a virtual as well as in person. And then the final one is my DEIB training, which is anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. So this grant will help to offset those trainings. So it has to be Hackensack centric. So if anyone has any, yeah,
Jackie, what about
go
the
ahead.
county? Have you reached out to the county?
So, oh yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So again,
I-
one-on-one conversation. What do you have?
Yeah.
What do you need? And that's what I'm asking everybody. So Yeah, in the midst of doing that, AJ. So yes, thank you. Thank you. So that is it for me.
Thanks so much,
AJ,
Jackie.
is that oh, my pleasure. In case I thoroughly enjoyed this. AJ, is the event tomorrow open to the public?
You mean tonight at Rockaway?
No. The one up in Sussex County.
Yes, yes. You just got to
It's
RSVP.
open.
Yes.
Okay, can you share with us the if there's a flyer or something that maybe we
Yeah,
could share out with the attendees here and any other resources, right? Betty, we can share with all the attendees today.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll put it in
Perfect.
the follow-up email.
Perfect. And so I thank you again, everybody. It's 10:45, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good to meet everybody, and hopefully we could talk soon. But want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and have happy holidays. But thanks again.
Gobble gobble,
Gobble
everybody.
gobble. Yep.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye bye.